Oh, hello. Um, Hello. I'm Don Watson, author of The Boy Who Walked Too Far, which reached the semi-finals of self-publishing fantasy blog off in 2018. Ever since then, I've been pruning it, editing it, rewriting it, turning it into something a bit special. So hopefully later on this year, you'll get a chance to have a look at it yourselves, because we're re-releasing it. And it's quite a good, it's a bit different. Sorry, that's my phone going off. But in the meantime, I'm going to read you a short story called A Contemporary Mage, which I wrote for the Laughing Crow anthology about 3 years ago, I think, for Halloween. It's a story about a mage who lost his way one night, rather drunkenly, and the repercussions of that night. So I'll start. Power is nothing more than the possession of ego. Some have it, others yearn for its sweet tingly touch. A primal force that predates history. A wavelength that permeates the ether and is easy to tune into as a radio signal, if you have the wares naturally. I have. Others, most of humanity, do not. You are, to quote my late mentor, disabled in your mental prowess. Charming, I know. But mages are not immortal. Even the hand of death delights in stuffing us out. But today, in this land of technological wonder, we seem redundant. Where before we cancelled kings and emperors, government and the church, we now loiter with our magics on the cusp of a new age. You devote your time to devices, and the majesty of the internet thanks you for it. She grows in power. A transaction of money and a song downloaded from her loins. All good sucker, you have paid your dues. Through blood, sweat, and money, cause and effect quid pro quo, the Lady Web is thankful for your nourishment. She tolerates us. Like a bothersome wasp, we pluck at her sweet nectar. We have been reduced to street entertainers and peeping toms, plucking emails from the ether, scrutinizing your internet histories for fun, transforming our bodies into crow or raven, watching from the rooftops, our only outlet, save alcohol, observing a young, nubile woman entertain a smitten and sexually charged man with prosecco and silk lingerie. We loiter and watch. She has more magic than I. Not digital magic. Proper old school stuff. Magic of the soul. She controls her surroundings, her magic woven in scent and promiscuous touch. She can trap a soul with one dainty touch, and to him it is electric. This woman has power. My mentor was so wrong. I fall from the church spire and let the wind catch my wings. I am unsteady at first, those 4 pints of East Coast IPA and the whiskey chaser hampering my balance. I'd forgotten to eat, which is a bugbear of mine. The breeze was astonishing, refreshing, a cool bath of liquid air that coursed through my onyx feathers. I felt at one with the energies of the world and closed my eyes, and for 1 second I felt them both. The deep furious energy that flowed from the earth to mage and the new neon electric. My magic, my law. Digital age. Like the humans themselves, magic is evolutionary. For eons past we were plugged into the earth, the sky, the sea. There are now new lands, forged in the endless portals of our handheld devices. All of us are plugged in, mobiles and tablets, our Bibles, minds constantly attuned, if you have the where to see it, to touch the digital continent and the static that resides, mould it, form it, use it. I glided through electric rain, its static a sensation like no other. Cool breeze on bare skin. I reached, stretched my wings in the buffering surf. And then my neck snapped. I felt the sheer pressure of the reinforced window breaking the gossamer bones in my petite neck. I fell. Black wings became green coattails as I tumbled and spiraled down into the concrete abyss, trying to stave off the damage by reinforcing the sturdier bone of a human thorax. For an iota it worked. I had stemmed the break, but then the hard ground of capitalist Canada Square embraced my body. There was darkness and blood. I felt it in my throat, the metallic tinge that spoke to the brain in volumes of finite flesh. I could move. Thankfully, my magics had bolstered me for what it was worth. I picked myself up, unsteady and yet eager to move. Bones clicked and cracked, my spine a jagged mess. I walked lopsided and fell into a flower bed of roses. Picking up a handful of petals, sugar-coated in neon flame and digital detritus, I took magic from the ether and they burned in my hand into a red liquid where I lapped up their remains. Mage medicine. It wouldn't cure the hurt, but it would get me back home. Back to the Isle of Dogs on my bed. Shit. Talk about drink driving. Good job there wasn't a mage police. I pulled the ripped and bloodied coat from my shoulders and tossed it onto the floor, falling onto my bed, my body a broken bag of meat, brittle bones, no bleeding magic. It wouldn't be long. I could feel it, the magic leaving my body like steam. The scent of a dying mage would attract the predators that lurked in the deep divides. It wouldn't be long before one appeared. Unlike humans who passed and slipped into the deep abyss, lost souls of song and yearning, the death of a mage brought together a different kettle of fish. Mages are of a different belief. We have taken from the world so much. Energy, harnessed spirits and demons to causes that have gone unjustified. Our debts outweigh that of any human. We take, we use. The soul of a mage is desired eating to the nefarious creatures in the dark spaces. I was new magic. They say when they split the atom decades ago, the world fractured and the things seeped through the cracks. Mages say nature couldn't stop the rise of science. Once Hiroshima cracked the world like an egg, there was nothing to stop the contents from seeping out. New magic formed in the maelstrom of human darkness. The beams and foundations of the flat creaked. The room seemed to lurch as if it were at sea. Something was burrowing inward. It smelt my decay. I shook my head solemnly. Death by plate glass window, slightly inebriated. Not the best signing off for London's principal go-to mage. I had seen wonders and fought demons and spirits. Took battle against necromancers and rogue mages. I once fought a Nazi necromancer in the climbs of the Swiss Alps and bound him with salt and lilies. Plucked the still beating heart from his chest and placed it into the confines of a radio, deadlocked against spells and nefarious ideologies, a gift for mediums and ghost whisperers. In death the human soul spoke in sound, song. The heart of a necromancer opened the doorway to the abyss. My lower back spasmed. The muscles tightened. Breathing slight. A deeper darkness permeated the air, a veil of grey that brought with it the sound of wet shuffling. I breathed and farted, and then laughed, albeit fleetingly, as the muscles in my back became taut and jolted me with pain. There was a rasp, a long elongated rasp that carried along the floor, and behind it the smell of ammonia. Something wet and slick was at the foot of the bed. Magic leaked into my sheets, sweet magic that failed to ignite. The pain subsided somehow, and I turned onto my back. Christ, I said. I didn't realize it was so dangerous going for a beer. The ridiculous prospect made me laugh. I, who had dined with the aristocracy and offered courtship advice to Byron. Nothing was said and done. In the end, no future can be predetermined. I had lived longer than most and paid my dues. What a bloody waste. What had changed? As a young mage, I had been dutiful, if a little overzealous. Relationships were scattered throughout the ages, but nothing had ever come to betrothal. The life of a mage was a solitary one of duty and books, one of death. I remembered the girl in the flat, that young woman who had wielded her own personal brand of magic. Perhaps that was what I had watched. The loneliness tore at me from the inside. Perhaps the thought of watching such coupling would stem the tide of my own isolation. No, I was just an old pervert, a drunk mage who took solace in a few pints of beer. I had taken liberties with my power, misused it, to peek into a young woman's bedroom, and in my egotistical mind I had decided to take flight inebriated. I should have just watched the whole show and caught the bus home, phoned for a special shish from Just Eat, and settled down for a bit of news night. You had to do it, didn't you? Just like the run-of-the-mill idiot with a sports car, defying the law, the big I am. Prick. There was movement. My bed jolted, and a dark wet membrane hunched over the bottom of the sheet. Its head moved and expanded as if 1,000 souls reached out from within, trying to sever the gelatinous tissue with nothing but finger and nail. Its head and body speckled with faint white freckles, giving off the impression of moving light. It lurched over the bed, the slug-like physique leaving only slime and its signature deep rasp. Elasticated mandibles lapped at my feet and pulled me a foot down the bed. Lower legs swallowed by wet night. It was enveloping me slowly, yet lovingly, as if it had been an age since it had tasted sweet mage. I looked up and across to the bedside cabinet where my mobile sat. Stretching with my arm and pulling with my leg, I reached for the mobile as the slug man enveloped my knees. With forefinger and thumb, I picked up the phone and reached out with the last vestiges of magic. I lit the spark. Bare, sentient mage mind met with the colossal intelligence of Lady Webb, and my body burned. The slug man recoiled. Living flame kindled by tons of data met its slimy membrane, and its deep rasp became a death-like shrill. As it became privy to a unified magic of unparalleled stature, night had become burning day as it scurried back into the borehole it had come from, its raspy death rattle still heard as the veil closed. I couldn't tell you how long I sat there. I couldn't tell you how long I laid there. Night turned into day, and dusk flirted with night, and then night took dawn to breakfast. It felt an age. I was sore, and yet I could move everything. No bones broken, the flame that had shrouded me and scalded, now nothing more than an itchy blemish. I pulled my bloody jacket from the floor and laid it over the bed. I was alive. How the hell? Sunlight caught the screen of my phone, and I picked it up. No battery, and yet I felt the hum of the world through it. I pulled the curtain open and saw London by sunlight. My head lifted, and I opened the bay doors ready to take flight. The visage of Crow subverting my human features, and then I thought better of it. No. I think I'll take the bus. Right, that's it. Thank you, and let's get these stories coming. They're more important than ever, I think. So, read, write, stay safe, stay indoors. Let's ride this storm out. Stay safe.